Good day, boaty people, and today we are installing a thermostat on a gentleman's boat. We've already started the work, but I'm going to talk you through what I've done because we've hit a few snags and I thought it might be a bit of an eye-opener to people that want to know these sorts of things. So, this is currently what we're dealing with, as you can see. A little bit going on. Originally, that hole there had a on and off switch. So, turn it on. When you got up to the desired temperature, turn it off. Obviously, that means if you're in the boat and you're all nice and cosy, sat on the sofa, and then you suddenly decide you want the heating off, you've got to get off your bum and you've got to come and turn the heating off. So, that got replaced with a mechanical thermostat, very similar to what you get in a property. Little analog dial, turn it up to the temperature you want, and then obviously when the temperature drops below, heating comes on. When it drops above that, turns the heating off. However, it is right next to the back doors of the vessel. So, what we were finding is it's quite drafty. It's not cold to a degree here, but it is probably one of the coldest parts on the boat. So what was happening is the heating would come on, room would get to temperature, and then it would stay on until it got red hot in the boat, and then the thermostat would kick in and then turn off. And then the temperature would drop just a little bit, and then the heating would come back on again. So cost effective on fuel, because it's a diesel heater, this one, so it runs on the tank's fuel system. So we've decided to put a hive in, and then that way it obviously connects to the internet, so you can sit on your phone, and then obviously you can control the heating system from there. However, next wall we hit was, for some reason, and we've studied it, believe me, we couldn't get the receiver which turns the heater on to marry up to the router on the internet. So for all of our sins, we cut losses and just went, we'll go back to a mechanical thermostat, and then that way it works. It's just in the wrong place. So now we've been given the task of moving it to the other end of the boat, which is the bow, the front end, the pointy end. However, running a cable from here 60 foot down the boat is nigh on impossible. There's only three ways you're going to accomplish such a task, and the first one is by removing all your ceiling panels or your coving, if you're able to do so. And as you can see, it's very well boxed in, so to get that out and run a cable behind, there's going to be a little bit of a challenge and probably some damage along the way. That's option one. Option two is to run trunking, so the electrical conduit, punch holes in the corners, put your trunking up and run it all the way through. Possible, but also at the same time you've got bulkheads to contend with, you've got a shower room to contend with, and trunking doesn't exactly look aesthetically pleasing. So how do we get a cable from the back to the front? Well, in the honest world, you don't. You just wouldn't probably entertain the idea, and you'd keep it obviously situated in the back end of the boat somewhere where the cable's probably not got as much room to run. However, we've struck gold today because we found a cable down the front of the boat that used to have a 12 volt USB. So what we've done is we've picked up the cable from there, chased it all the way down to the back of the boat, obviously disappearing into said cupboard. And now what we're going to do is we're going to connect the cable to the heating system, which is this cable here, which obviously where the old thermostat used to be. So now we just found our cable, had to daisy chain it through this cupboard here. It says grabbing his torch, which I haven't got because I'm an idiot. Where does that, there it is. So obviously just down there like so. Found the cable, picked it up, run it up in the corner over there, came out, and now we're just going to test. But the reason why I was doing this as well is because I wanted to show you how to wire up a thermostat, a mechanical one, because there's quite a multitude of terminals in the back, and a diesel heater only really requires two cables from a boat's perspective, and that is on and off. So power and signal wire, which sends obviously the connection from the thermostat down the boat to the heater to turn it off, and then vice versa to turn it on off. So stay posted, let's get rocking and rolling. Grey cable you can see there was the original cable going to the little USB at the front. What we're going to do is we're going to pin him up nice and tidy, done a join there. This is the cable we've obviously attached to it. Now, a couple of things I do when I do these, rather than cutting the cable directly in the middle and then putting all your fittings on, I stagger them. So I'll cut one short and then another one a bit longer, and then vice versa on the receiving cable, which is this one. And then that way, when you crimp your terminals on, if you're using the little butt connectors, and then that way you don't end up with a massive bulge in the middle. They're actually staggered out, so the cable remains somewhat in line with itself. I'm going to run the cable up along there, and then obviously down through our little cupboard hole there, and then we're going to crack on from there. But we're utilising today our little M3 self-adhesive tabs. There's another little hack for you if you're putting these up into confined spaces and then you've got to thread your cable tie through. Here's a thought: stick your cable tie through it first. I'm trying to do this one-handed. There we are. And then that way your little cable tie connects at the end, won't fall through, and then you can pin them up as you move along, and then thus they're already in place, so you ain't got to sit there and faff around trying to feed them through once you put them up there. Dunno. Great, full of hints and tips, aren't I? Right, so here we are on the other end of the boat. Obviously the wardrobe next to me is where we've chased the cables up. You might recognise it because we did a job on here the other day as well. It was the poo pipes on the gentleman's poo tank. Yeah. And we put in a 240 volt plug socket. So I'm going to talk you through. This is where the thermostat is now. So we've put it just above there. That's where the gentleman would like it, which is absolutely fine. So we're now going to do a continuity test using our faithful multimeter. Now, as you can see from the top of the stat, there is a variety of fittings or connections that you can obviously do it from. So if this was going into a property and it was controlling the boiler, for instance, in your house, there would be a multitude of other cables going in there, which I'm not going to go into because it's not for a boiler in a house. So to keep it simple for a narrowboat or barge, we are going to do the test as follows. So grab your multimeter, and what we're going to do is we're going to select continuity. Get the torch out of my face, which is this one here, the little orange. There we go, like so. So as you can see, at the moment it is showing 1, which in layman's terms mean there is no connection, which ironically, when you connect them, it shows 0. My multimeter is quite old, but that should actually show 0, 0, 0. Disconnect it, and hey presto, it goes all the way back up to 1. So what we then do is we now go over to our thermostat, and we're going to put our posi in the first one. Let me move my multimeter there as well so you can see that, hopefully at the same time. There you go, so 1. Nothing. Oh, a little bit, but not a lot. Right, so if you didn't follow that, it's basically 1, the markings on there are very faint, but 1 and 3. The reason being, it's very cold on here today, to be fair. It's not freezing by any means, but it is definitely below 5 degrees. And as you can see, I've got this turned all the way down. So if you were to continue these numbers on, it would be obviously 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and blah, blah, blah. But this obviously kicks in from 10 degrees upwards. So we probably are currently about here in our temperature range. So when you turn it, there's no clicks. Normally it clicks when you turn it on. So doesn't mean to say that the actual magnesium thing on the back, that little plate there, is still not doing what it's doing. That will still be registering the temperature in the room. So 1, we go to that one, open channel. 2, a little bit, but that's still an open channel. 3, boom, there you go, 0. So that is our connection. And then obviously we go for 4. Same again, it's still open, although it's dropping a bit. Oh, there you go, see how it keeps flicking to 1. So that is not our continuity. So it's 1 and 3 are the terminals we need to use. That's solid. So that gives it us, doesn't matter which way around either, it will do exactly the same thing. So all it's doing is bridging a gap, so to speak. So all I've done here is I've rigged up a little doodah. This is actually an old 12-volt light that I normally use to test circuits if I'm down one end of the boat and I need to test if there's 12-volt getting to the other end of the boat. However, what I've done here is I've simulated, imagine this is the thermostat that's on the wall behind the panel just there. So that would be that, and then this is actually a 240-volt cable that they've used, but it doesn't matter, it's still going to carry our 12 volts from where we need it from the back of the boat. I've just obviously hooked up the earth there so the cable doesn't drop for this example. So you've got your blue is obviously negative, in 12-volt world is the black, and obviously brown is your live, in 12-volt world it is your red. So if we were to now turn this thermostat as it would be on the wall, all we're doing is creating a bridge in the thermostat with the little metal plate that I showed you a moment ago on the back. That little thermostat, what you call it, magnesium plate. All that's doing when it's on is making a contact like so, which in turn is exactly the same as pushing those 2 wires together. However, I've already tested this. And I sat there and I thought, why is nothing happening? This cannot be. How dare it? I will not be defeated. That'll be on my gravestone. So, why would it not come on when you touch the cables together? And I will show you the reason why right now. As you might have remembered me mentioning earlier at the very start of the video about the thermostats coming on when it was originally in the panel wall there, how it was coming on fairly quickly every time the temperature was dropping. So what I've done, getting me cave again, I've come over to the diesel heater. This is good as well because you guys can always check this. And there's usually 2 fuses. One is 20 amp, which is the little yellow one back there, which is actually the fuse for the heater, and then this is the fuse for the switch, and as you can see there, it's blown. So what we're going to do is go and replace that, and then it should all be brilliant as usual. Right, so we've wired in all the cables around the back of the thermostat, brought our 2 cables through, and because it's me, I'm going to try, just because I think it's a lot neater, we're going to stick some ferrules on. As you can see, these tiny little ferrules. I'll stick them on there. This is a Gucci piece of kit. Crimps the ferrules so they bite. He says, make sure we're in properly. There we go. Hey presto. Now we're going to feed. He says, where's my... No good left-handed. We'll try. We'll stick one in there. We'll stick one. He says, go on. Get boy. There we are. Now, I haven't put the fuse back in the heater just yet. Oh, he's coming out. Hang on. You're going to see a bit of wall while I just hold that one. There we go. Double check. Ooh. There we go, just like so. We'll just poke our cable down so it's nice and neat. Something as such. We'll grab our case. primer case. I'm not quite happy with that red. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to split the cable a bit more. So I've just literally pulled some of the sleeving back, just like so. I'm happy with that. That looks a bit nicer. And obviously our little catch goes in the top there. Come on, Martin, what's the matter with you? There you go, like so. Right, we'll do him up, then over tighten him just so he bites. Right, now we're going to turn that up to say 15. That's probably a nice little temperature maybe. Now that already should be on, because as you know, the temperature in here made a mess. 15. Good temperature, so that should already be on, but because there's no fuse in the heater, when we go and put the fuse back on in the engine room now, the heater's probably going to fire up right in front of us. So let's go and check that out. So here we are. Ooh. Faithful torch is already where I want it. Right, so we know that 20 amps all right, so we'll put our little casing back over the top. And we'll put that in there. Oh, how about that then? He's already woken up to do his job. Well done, lad.